This is Road to the Golden Door, where we unpack the proven success formula straight from the minds of Golden Door winners, uncovering the motivation, methods, and the mindset it takes to become an elite performer in door-to-door sales and in life. This is Road to the Golden Door. Now, here's your host, Mikey Lucas.
Alrighty, what's up? Welcome back. We got another outstanding individual, James Schlosser. Welcome to the show, brother. Welcome back.
Thanks so much for having me, bro. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, James. So, James, you're out of Virginia. You did your Golden Door this year, $3.1 million in sales for roofing. You've been in door sales for 4.5, maybe 5.5, depending on how you look at it. I know that you did. You sold replacement windows back in first year of college, but you've been in roofing now for basically 5 years.
Yeah.
So, dude, I'm excited to talk to you about the roofing industry up in the Northeast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it, and thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. Off mic here, we were just talking about how you're virtually 50% referral. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that. So we'll get into that. But for everyone that doesn't know James, who is James?
Let's see. First of all, I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a husband. Oh. I'm a father of two. And yeah, I've been working here. I've lived in Virginia since 99 and have bounced around school, work, that kind of stuff, and then landed here at Roof Simple about 4.5 years ago. And it's just really taken off for me in a really beautiful and organic way.
I love that. And how long have you been married for?
We just had our 5-year anniversary back in December. So yeah.
Nice, dude. We're going to talk about that a lot.
Sweet.
And how many kids you got?
2. Got 2 girls. Yeah,
girls.
Girl dad. It's awesome, man. It's the best.
Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you. I think we listen to the Frozen soundtrack at least 4 times a day. It's like all the girls want to listen to. Frozen dolls, Frozen dresses, like everything. So yeah, I mean, I know both soundtracks by heart. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of other dad girls that can say the same thing, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got one of my buddies, Ashton. He's got, I think, 4 girls.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a couple of my buddies are all girl dads. I've already got my girl's name picked out. Her name's Sophia. I don't have a kid yet, but I've been writing that down in my notebook.
There you go.
The last few years to be the man today that represents what Sophia will emulate and look for as far as character traits and attributes for who she's going to want to marry. So even though she's not here, she's holding me accountable.
Dude, that is yeah, there's a lot of wisdom packed into that statement right there. And yeah.
Exciting. Cool, brother. Well, let's jump right in, dude. Tell me about your Tell me about Roof Simple and what makes you guys different.
Yeah, so I guess in order to start that, I kind of got into the whole insurance industry. I worked for a ladder assist company my first year, and before
ladder
then,
assist being like you would go out and help adjusters would go out to like the roofing companies would pay your company to go out to. And when an insurance company say, "Hey, we need a ladder," or you fail and wait 2 weeks, basically, there's a company that was you guys that would show up with the ladder.
So basically, what would happen is when a homeowner files a claim, the insurance company needs to come out there. But a lot of insurance companies, because of their own policies, can't get on like a 2-story or a 712 or whatever, and so they hire a ladder assist to go up and do a report for hail, wind, tree, leaking, whatever, and so I basically I'd spent 7 years prior to this working at a wood shop with my brother-in-law. He hired me back in 2010, and I built chairs. I mean, my background is really in craftsmanship, and what he would do Really cool guy. He saw a lot of value in these old dilapidated barns that you pass by on the old country roads all the time, and just said, hey, that's actually still really good lumber, but people are just tearing this down because their insurance companies are forcing them to, or they want to have a new build. And so he said, hey, what if I just went in and offered to take it down for free in exchange for the wood? And so we would do that. We would take down these barns by hand. We don't bulldoze it because the wood's really good. So, I mean, we basically have sledgehammers and crowbars and a chainsaw to cut the beams. And we would just basically piecemeal these barns apart, take the wood, plane it, chop it, cut it, and build furniture. And so I worked for the Strong Oaks Wood Shop. And he's been featured on Etsy as well. He's got a pretty massive shop there. But yeah, I was mainly in charge. I think for about 2 years, I was in charge of building chairs. And so when I got into the industry, it was really, I didn't really make good money at all. I mean, I think until I got into the industry, I'd never made over $18 an hour, or I think $30,000 a year is the most I'd made. And then when I was getting married, it was very much just like, I have to be able to support my wife. I mean, her and I kind of value that. I mean, if she, we get married and Lord willing, if she got pregnant, I mean, it's really pretty much the entire responsibility of bringing in the income for the family rests solely on me. We really believe that, she should stay home and raise the children. It's one of the most important things that we could do as individuals, but also as a society, is just have mothers raise their children. And that's something that she believed in and I believed in. And so I basically just got into this, the ladder assist industry, and I mean, totally just blew up, and it was awesome. So I came in a year after that, or I guess during that year, probably about 6 months in, I was talking with contractors on roofs, doing hail, wind inspections, all that kind of stuff. And they say, hey, we could really use a sales rep. You can make a lot more money than you're making here. And I had 4 people try to recruit me. And I finally went with the 4th one, which was Roof Simple. But it was really interesting. And I think something that is worth noting, at one point I had I had met a contractor somewhere, and he said, hey, you can make X amount of dollars. And I said, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know the guy from anywhere. There's a massive storm that happened. He packed up 2 states away and overnight came and started, a new branch for his company near where I lived. And so I went out to a job site and was just talking with him and his foreman, and just like, man, this could be totally life-changing. Like, he wants to basically double the income I'm already making, and it's already really good. I just went home and something didn't feel right. Something was just off. And I remember talking to my wife, and I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, we could be like out of debt in a year. There's so much I could do with this money. I know that I can work hard. I mean, I spent 7 years in a wood shop, and it was one of the greatest things that my brother-in-law had gifted me with was he taught me how to work. And I'm talking to my wife. I'm just saying, hey, I know that I know I could work hard. I know I could do this money, but something doesn't seem right. I don't feel like I can trust this guy. So I'm just going to hold out doing what I'm doing for a little while longer until something better comes along. And then 6 weeks later, I'm at a music festival, and the owner of Roof Simple, Marty, is there. And he's like, hey, man, you should jump on. And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. There's a lot of other companies out there. And he's like, well, some of our guys have hit this already, it's September. They've already, they've hit 6 figures and it's September. And I'm like, that's really incredible. And I had known him and I had known his partner in business. And I joined the company because I really believed that they were somebody that I could trust, that when it comes to big money, they were somebody that wasn't going to screw me over, or I'm not going to get like half my commissions or whatever. And there were a lot of contractors that were offering me jobs, and I was just like, it didn't sit right, but this one did. And so, so I mean, they're really the best because the entire company rests on 3 very, very specific values. And in order, the first one is family first, always. The second one is give a shit about what you're doing. And the third one is do the right thing. And those values have been a guide point for this company and how they make their decisions. And I mean, I have reaped the rewards of being among people who just operate on a very, very strong and holy work ethic. And I feel like it has made me a better person, both in the business world, but also just personally. So
yeah, love that. I love that. Appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, it's obviously some pretty good nuggets right there that I pulled out. We'll be able to go in and dive deep into those. So it's pretty pretty exciting stuff. So let's jump first in this being a father thing. So a lot of the Golden Door Award winners, a lot of our listeners, they have kids or they aspire to have kids.
Right.
So take me back to, because I know you just hit your Golden Door this year.
Yeah.
Take me back to the year, and how did a lot of the guys, if you listen to the show and our fans and followers, they hear this a lot, but basically they hear that you have to like pre-overcome, or you have to the challenge of answering the phone call from your daughter being like, Daddy, like, I want to, when are you coming home, Daddy? It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're like, I can't do that, honey. So walk me back to that. And what was that like? What was the struggle like, specifically being a father with your two girls? Are they of age where they can talk and hang out? And obviously they're singing Elsa stuff, but
yeah, exactly. So I got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and the 4-year-old definitely is I'm really noticing like she needs me a lot more, than she did really ever before. And I feel like with childhood development, there comes a time when they reach an age when it's just like dad really matters, like the first year, it's not like you don't matter as a dad, but it's like pretty much their entire world is mom. And my 1-year-old definitely will run up to me and, want hugs and kisses and snuggles and books and, and put on the Frozen soundtrack mostly. But I mean, it is one of those things that I think every single man really struggles with. And I think it's one of the best struggles that we could have. I look at so many successful people, and this is something that I've struggled with, really. Not that I've like really gone down this road of just like being completely owned by money, but I think it's a very, very hard line that you have to draw for yourself, which is, you go out there and you do something really, really good. I mean, you're like Golden Door winners, like any other Golden Door winner will know, you go out and you do your job and you're effective at it, and people will congratulate you and people will say, hey man, awesome job. That's really great. And it feels really good. It feels really good to get the attention, feels really good to get that praise. But at the end of the day, I could go home and tell my daughter like, hey, I just closed this really big job, or I just made this really big commission check. And she's going to look at me and be like commission check. Like, can you read me a book? Like, hey, do you want to go out and play soccer? Like, that's actually exciting. Like your money and your job. Like, I don't care about that. And she shouldn't have to. And for me, I have 100% have a responsibility to be able to get down on her level, forget the job, forget the work. And the book should be the most important thing to me, right? The sitting down and the talking about whatever needs to be the most important thing to me. The family meal at the end of the day, that's the hallmark, right? That's what life is all about. And I feel like there's a lot of guys, and I understand the struggle because I struggle with it myself, where it's just like, I do all this for my family and I want to give my family the best life ever. And then they just sort of like, just do the work, and they come home and all of a sudden they're not dad. They're more uncle dad. They're disassociated with their children. They're disassociated with their wife. Their wife is lonely. Their children are lonely. And you're just out there working because, I mean, let's be honest, like the work and the success, like there's different chemicals in your brain that are released, different hits of dopamine when, you go and you sign a massive job, or you get that big check, or, it could be any good feeling, right? And that can become addictive. And we as men, we have to constantly have control and restraint over ourselves to know like that is a good thing, but I also need to control it. And I need to know when to put that into its box and let it sit there until 9 o'clock the next morning, and then go home and be fully present with my family. Like it's so important to do that. And the struggle is very, very real. But I hope the good man is going to struggle with that. Struggling is good. Giving into it is where people fail. And there's a lot of men out there that unfortunately are not struggling with this. They don't even know it exists. They're they're slaves to their passions and their emotions. And, you know, I mean, how many times do you hear of the, you know, the successful billionaires that are divorced? You know, it's like, what's life for, man? You know? And so I hold myself to those standards, you know, where it's like, even being home for dinner every night is just something that it's just, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to hope and pray that, you know, I'm going to work really hard, work really effective. But, you know, when it hits 5 o'clock, like even before the show, you said, do you have time constraints? I'm like, yeah, man, I got to be out of here by 5. Like, I got to go home, have dinner with my family. That's a non-negotiable for me, you know? And I mean, obviously there's some times where it's like different events or there might be some things going on, but it's like maybe 2% of the time. And the rest of the time it's just like, no, I mean, you know, a Golden Door winner can have this life of just like, you know, being in the top 1%. And that can mean a lot. And that does mean a lot. But what means more is that just that life at home where it's just, nobody sees that. Social media doesn't see that. But it is, I mean, it really is, I think, the most important thing that we can do for ourselves. If you want to make the world a better place, I think it was Mother Teresa said this. She had some rich guy. She's this poor nun in India, you know, Nobel Peace Prize winner. It just, I mean, did amazing work in Calcutta, India. Has this rich guy just come and just say, oh, Mother Teresa, I'm so inspired by you. How can I help you? Like, what can I do to help the world? And she looked at him and said, you want to love the world? Go home and love your family. Done. Mic drop. That's it.
Yeah, that's something that when we were jamming off mic, I'm pulling something up because I want to know your opinion on something. But
yeah,
one of the I guess you can say one of the main, if people remember, if they remember anything about Mikey, I want them to remember a few things. And one of those, like, you know, within the top 10 that I will continually talk about a lot is for men to become men again, where they're raising their children and being the best husband they possibly can be. We've been sold a bill of goods. I believe that our generation, 20, 30-year-olds, have been sold a bill of goods that we need to go and work our butt off to provide for our wife so that she can have some sort of so that she can have materials because that's what's going to make her happy. And we think that, but it's a complete lie. And I think people are slowly starting to wake up from the matrix, which is pretty cool to see that. Yeah. You know, I was watching your story earlier. But like, you know, I know you're a fan of Jordan Peterson. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson. I'll actually fly tomorrow to go see him in Seattle.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm really excited to go see him again. That's awesome. Saw at DoorCon. I'm going to go see him again here in a couple of days in Seattle. So I'm really excited about that, but I love Jordan Peterson. But I just think men, we've been sold this bill of goods, and, you know, and not only that, it's not, again, I'm going to take the blame for the men because men need to take 100% responsibility of the things that they're not doing well, or doing just flat out wrong, like bad. But obviously on the other side, the women are feeding into it as well. So it's not a lot of times men just like, oh, well, if the girls would wear something different, then maybe I wouldn't have, you know, sexual desires. It's like, right. No, dude, like God designed you like that. If you didn't have sexual desires towards a very beautiful creature, maybe there's another problem. Maybe maybe because you're eating soy all day long, you got your testosterone's in the 100s. Maybe that's why you're not, you know, attracted to people anyways. So
exactly.
Yeah. My goal really ultimately, if within my group, within my social media, within this platform, on the podcast, is to help men become men again. And I'm really looking to, at the end of the day, what wakes Mikey Lucas up every single day is one of them is lowering the divorce rate for the next generations, including ours. And the reason why I do that, one of the ways I'm actually doing that is by educating people financially. I believe people get divorced. The majority, if you look on the internet, Google it, right? Ask Alexa, Siri, whatever, Google, is because of sex and because of money. I'm not going to help them with their sex life, but I can help them with their money life. Yeah. So and it's funny because I talk about this all the time too. Like, I use this podcast as a platform for my weaknesses. I use social media as a platform for my weaknesses. I don't just talk about everything that's great all over the internet. I don't have great days 365. You know, it might be 350. I'm having great days, but there's those 15 days or so that I'm not doing too well. And I'm very vocal about, I'm not having a good day today, and here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I know that people, they don't have all great days all the time. So I want to use this as a platform for my weaknesses, and even with my own marriage. And I've talked about this on the show before, but it's funny because I pay 6 figures a year for coaching, and I tell my coaches, I'm like, hey, I'm like the money guy. Like, people come to Mikey because they want to learn how to exit. They want to learn how to create $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month in passive income and make an impact with their money, make their money matter. I'm like the money guy. Like, people come to me because they want to know about money. And I literally help males become in a better relationship with their wife by organizing their finances. And I'm over here having struggles with my wife with finances. And I'm like, literally, I'm like, bro, I'll tell my mentors this. I'm like, dude, I'm the guy on the internet talking about how I can help you with your finances, with your marriage. And I'm over here struggling with my marriage with finances. So I don't have it all figured out. It's one of the best things is that I'm still a student. I'm still learning. So I love, James, having you on and being able to talk to you. I don't have a daughter yet. I'm excited to be able to have a daughter. For a long time, I was afraid of that. And up until recently, I was writing down for the last probably 3 or 4 years now, 5 years now, talking about my daughter being the man today and tomorrow that my daughter is going to look for for attributes on who to marry. But I actually just recently started writing down for my son, do today and tomorrow what my son is going to, the standard of who my son's going to live up to now.
It's really interesting that you say that, because the other thing, I think that's a great thing to do, and it's very prudent. I think something to add to that is just to imagine your children in 20 or 30 years talking to your colleagues, or talking to the students that you coach, or talking to your mentors, right? Who's dad? I actually recently was doing this with my own dad, just talking to people, and it made me realize, it's talking to people that he knew, way back when, just be like, who was my dad? And he passed I think 15 years ago now, but it's something that I think is just to be able to bring it down and just, bring yourself down, become small, become little. Who do other people say that I am? Am I the kind of guy that you don't want to look away from because I might, take advantage or do this, or, take your money? Or am I somebody that, that has true lasting empathy and understanding, that if you have a bad day, do I give a shit? Do I care about that? And I think just to always be checking ourselves at the door, and just really start living for others. And our children will see that. So yeah. And back to your, the whole, divorce rate thing, I think it's really interesting, because you have all these really successful people that are going out there and they're making a ton of money, and, they got their private jets and their Lamborghinis and all this kind of stuff. And at the same time, it's just but drug use is still on the rise. Pornography is still a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's not getting smaller. It's getting bigger. It's getting larger. And the divorce rate is just still going up. We haven't really actually solved these things. And so at the end of the day, it's money, it's not the answer, right? Money is a tool. There's this, my buddy Larry, I remember him saying this. He's just money is just a tool. It can be used for really bad things, but it could also be used for really great things. But it is nothing in itself other than just a tool. That's it. Right. And you're the person that can be in control of it. Now, there are times when money can't control you, and that's not good, but money is a tool and something that you're the master of that. Right.
Yeah. Money. I always tell people, I was like, look, man, money exposes who you are.
Yeah.
Just like alcohol does.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. It's, when you don't have money, and I notice this a lot, it's really interesting, because I see trends a lot, and I guess I don't know. I know why. I know now that it's a God-given talent and strength that I have, but I didn't know for a long time why I saw trends so easily. For instance, if it beats, I'm a musician, I play guitar. Mm-hmm. I would catch on to specific rhythms very quickly. And things, my family, they say that I would be a navigator in the boats that my family did were tuna fishermen on the big boats. And they would say that me with my traits, I'd be a navigator, be able to find where the fish are at really. But the thing I noticed really is just that, I guess there's a lot, but anyways, I see trends a lot. And I noticed that if we can get back to a point where, again, as like you said, these industries, the divorce is up and all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
it says we're at 50%. We're not at 50%, bro. Like, we're not at 50%. Yeah. Maybe we've been at 50% for 30 years. And I don't know really, but like my in-laws that are still married, like very few people in growing up in my my sphere are still married. Like very few, like very, very few. So anyways, figuring out, and I'm 10 years this year. By the time this is out, I'll be 10 years sober from synthetic heroin. I was taking 500, 600 milligrams of Oxycontin every single day for 6 years. So I'm 10 years sober now. And
congratulations,
people are just not talking about it. And thank you, man. I've lost 23 friends and family members now from drug overdose, suicide, drinking and driving, falling asleep at the wheel and dying. Or even accidental overdoses, things like that. And, it's, to me, it's important because it happens a lot. And I've spoken at a lot of their funerals, and I guess they call it like mortality motivation, where like you've seen death, you've been at death's doorstep. I don't really care, because I don't care what people think about me. When I talk about stuff like this, because they're the ones that are not, they don't, like, you can only suppress death so much. Like, it's coming. Death and taxes, right?
Yeah. So there's this, I guess you call spiritual practice that I have. It's called Memento Mori, which is Latin for remember your death. And a lot of great people in history talk a lot about this. A lot of, really, really good people will do this. And it's something that I really try to remember pretty constant. I would say at least 3 to 4 times a week, of just like, you know what? I'm going to say goodbye to my wife and my kids, and you never know. I could get run over by a semi truck on the way out of here, and nobody will ever hear from me again. So what do I want to do right now? How do I want to live right now with the people that are around me? What do I want to do with the resentment in my heart towards the person that I just had an argument with? Right? Yeah. What do I want to do to the person that just cut me off in traffic? Right? How do I want to respond, to my emotions of fear and anger towards a particular person? Because those might be the last emotions you feel. Random heart attacks are happening all the time right now. I just recently had a friend last year, super healthy woman in her 40s. This artist and actress was, living her best life, and all of a sudden, she goes to the bathroom, and 30 minutes later, her mom goes in and checks on her, and she's dead. No warning, nothing. And that can happen to you next. It could happen to me next. So what do we want to do right now? And the people that live in the moment, the people that live in the here and the now, the people that have their shit in order and their priorities in order are the ones that are going to really succeed. And that doesn't necessarily mean money. Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean money. I mean, I can tell you, like, I have the people that I know and people that I look up to don't make 6 figures. A lot of them don't. But there's certain traits and attributes about them that I really, really appreciate. Different marriages that have been going on for 30 to 40 years. And I'm like, bro, I'm 5 years in, and this is hard. How do you do it for 40 freaking years? How do you do it for 50 years? And just to sit down with that person, or just to watch the couple interact, in a social setting or something like that. Like, that kind of stuff is huge. It's huge. And there's so many people, and this is something else for the Golden Door winners, because I know that mentorship is a really big thing. And I think a lot of what you're offering is really good. A lot of what, Sam Taggart is offering is really good. But at the end of the day, for me, the mentors that I have found have been more along the lines of like Batman, which is you have to go on a big journey and you have to go in the middle of the mountains and find somebody that you heard about through 4 other people, and that's it. And nobody else knows about them, but they have wisdom that you want. And so you're going to go on a journey. You're going to find them. I mean, right now I'm trying to get it. There's this one spiritual director that, I met him a couple times before. He completely changed my life. And I want to see him more often, but he's just so busy and can't do it. But like, you're not going to find him on LinkedIn. You're not going to find him on a big Instagram or anything like that. Like he's quietly going about his work, but the wisdom that he has is worth more than, any solar company or roofing company is worth. He has a wisdom that is wrought through really, really challenging experiences. And he just came out on the other side with just amazing wisdom. And like, those are the mentors that I have, there's another guy that I know that just, super successful guy. And then, through a couple different circumstances, ended up adopting a couple kids on top of having a couple kids. And he's working hard, but I mean, he is working so hard for these kids that he both has and that he adopted. And, not on social media, but I know him. I know I can contact him. And, if I need questions or I need to figure something out, he's got solid advice, and so I think it really is a good question to be asking, like, what are you looking for in a mentor? What kind of wisdom do you actually want to learn? Because we can all crunch numbers all day, but it's the Jordan Petersons. Like he's successful now, but he's in his 70s. Like he's only been successful like the past 7 or 10 years. What did he do for those other 60? The dude was learning, man. The dude was just going about his work quietly, and that it made him something that, the world now has to reckon with. So
Facts. Yeah, I think that's really important. Definitely. I always tell people that too. Like you should not take advice from somebody that you wouldn't trade places with. And I say that with an asterisk because you can take advice from somebody on what not to do. In other words, for instance, if somebody has, I tell people all the time, my dad knows that I say this, so I can say this about my dad, but I learned a lot from my dad of what to do.
Yeah.
But people usually stop there. And if you're listening to this and you're potentially resentful or have some sort of like a beef with your parents, your dad, your mom, your aunt and uncle, whoever raised you, you can learn a lot of what to do, or maybe they didn't teach you very much of what to do, but you can sure learn a whole lot more of what not to do.
Yeah.
And that to me is even more valuable. It's more valuable to learn from somebody of what I don't want to do. I don't want to treat my wife like that. I don't want to treat, the grocery clerk like that. I'm not saying that about my dad, but in general, like I don't want to treat my money like that. I don't want to treat my kids like that. Whatever that is, right? I don't want to treat my boss like that. I don't, and I can learn, but if you don't write those things down and review them, which to me is really important. Obviously, I told you I write things down a lot. I review my notes and review ideas and have these notes in my phone that I go back to regularly to review them to see where Mikey was at. I do a lot of reflecting and do reflection 4 times a year. I'm excited. I'm coming up on one. I'm here in about a month on reflecting for the first quarter on where I was at for the year, where I was at for the prior 4 months. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, 3 quarters. So like the last year. So from quarter one to quarter, or end of quarter one to end of quarter one, this year, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Last week, last month, stuff like that. Am I headed in the direction that I want to be? Because I believe this is something that's super important. It's on my mirror. I look at it every single day. It's my direction determines my destination. And there was a quote, I think it was Steve Jobs, and there's other people too that have said something along these lines. But it's like, dude, if you're not waking up like every day is, that tomorrow you're going on vacation, family vacation, or the next day's your birthday, and you're not super excited about tomorrow or today, you're not inspired and excited. Life is not all about just solving problems, James. Like, we got to have something that we're looking forward to. And that's one of the best parts about door-to-door sales for me. The vehicle that I was in for 10 years was selling alarms and then into solar. And for me, dude, door-to-door sales, I was literally excited almost every single day, dude. Like, I'm that weird person that actually likes knocking on doors.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. I guess not very many people like knocking on doors. I don't know. I love it. I maybe I didn't like it the first couple of years, but I liked it better than what the inverse was. The inverse was I got to go back and be told when I can go to the bathroom, like basically prison. I mean, like literally, like when I can go to the bathroom, when I can go on a vacation, what days I can take off, when I have to be there, when I can leave. Can I leave? I don't feel like being here. Oh no, you have to stay. So like the inverse was, working in the restaurants for me. I worked at the last job I had was working at a steakhouse, Gordon Ramsay Steak in the Paris. And dude, and a phenomenal restaurant, and they ran it like a freaking ship, bro. This thing was fluid, bro. This thing was a really good restaurant, but I was told when I can take a lunch. I was told when I could be there, when I had to go home. Like, and I didn't have any. And I know that's like our generation, millennials and Gen Zers. Like we want to be in more control, but I think there's a certain point where control, you being in control, you're not disciplined or don't have the discipline enough to be in control. Because at the end of the day, I still even struggle with this today. Like if I don't have, I could show you, dude. My calendar today is stacked, bro. My calendar the next 12 months really is stacked pretty much. But like I'm cramming in 3 days, the next 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today's Monday. I'm literally cranking 6 days into 3 days. It's literally stacked. I don't do well when there's white space on my calendar. Like I don't chill. I don't have like chill mode very often. I had a chill mode like on a Monday. Last week, my wife and I went to the San Diego Zoo. Like that was it. And my wife and I were like kids again. It was really fun. Like we were, running around, like enjoying the zoo.
Good.
But, I don't have chill mode. So my wife says, you're like at 99% all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'm like an Energizer bunny. Got 2 speeds, baby girl, on and off. She knows that. So let me transition really quick, unless you have something to say on that.
No, go for it.
Cool. So you've been married for 5 years.
Yeah.
What I was not told, and I've talked about this, and I don't want to get too deep into it because I've talked about it on shows before, but I was told when you get married, you're in like the first 2 years is honeymoon stage, right? Is honeymoon stage prison?
Is what?
That's what it feels like. Is honeymoon stage also known as prison? Like, why do they lie? Why do they lie to me and say that?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yes,
I know.
Glorious.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Now, let me be very clear here. My life is outstanding. My wife is my biggest cheerleader. Dude, like there is no woman out there that's like her. She is, dude, she is exactly she was the answers to the prayers that I had. Like exactly to a T.
That's awesome.
Freaking awesome.
That's awesome.
But holy crap, I realized that I need to change.
Yeah.
I did not date for like 6 years before I started dating and then eventually found my wife. And I was very used to, if I wanted to go to New York City to do this thing because of business, I could just pack my bags and fly away.
Yeah.
Now it's like, got responsibilities, all this other stuff, right? Like, anyways, it's an interesting
I think
thing.
it was Jordan Peterson that said, if you're looking for a good way to beat that narcissistic personality inside of you that just thinks about yourself and does stuff, get married and then have children. And then they'll beat it right out of you so quickly. And that was so true. Marriage is the hardest thing that I think I've ever done. And it was also the best thing that I think I've ever done. I think, I kind of wonder why people are like, oh yeah, the first couple of years are like a total honeymoon, and then they tell you, oh, wait till you have kids, you won't sleep. I'm like, I still sleep when I have kids, and so does my wife. Like, we both still sleep most of the night, and then, but the whole thing about, marriage is a honeymoon at the beginning. Like, obviously, there's different challenges at different times, but at all times we should be growing, and growth is going to be painful. Growth is hard. If your life is easy and you have nothing to worry about, like you now have something to worry about, because that complacency is gonna set in and destroy you. And I have a pretty powerful story that about complacency that kind of led up to my golden door year. And it kind of forced me to pull every bit of strength that I had in me to perform as well as possible. Because of the hole that we had gotten ourselves in. But yeah, marriage is, it's a really beautiful thing. But it pulls you out of yourself, the self that you were in when you were single, growing up, whatever. And life is not about you anymore, and you got to reckon with somebody else. And, but it's a really, really beautiful thing. But society doesn't understand really what I think true marriage is, which is probably why the divorce happens all the time. Like we go in being like, oh, it's going to be so great. Like we live in such a lonely world right now. Everybody's like, I don't want to get married because I don't want to be lonely anymore. And it's like, well, you're kind of going into marriage for the wrong thing. If you're going into marriage for yourself because you don't want to be lonely, like you're going to be, but I mean, if you approach it from the standpoint of just like, I love this woman. And I mean, look, like we are meant to be with somebody, like God created us for each other. But if you can go into it with a heart of service of this is the kind of person that I want to serve, and I want to love this person. I want to give this person what I want to offer this person something. You're going into it, I think, with a much wiser attitude than what can I get out of it? And again, like what can I get out of it is a narcissistic personality inside of us that Jordan Peterson is just like, you got to get that out of it. We all have it. We all have it, and we got to pull it out of ourselves or have it pulled out of us by somebody else. Usually it's our wives, and it's, the best painful process we go through. It was really interesting. So I started to produce this podcast for our company, and super excited about it. And I'm just like, get the cameras and get the Joe Rogan microphone, and it's going to be awesome. I'm going to go up there and talk about really cool stuff. And I edited it together, and I'm really excited, and I'm feeling really good about myself. And I'm like, all right, hey, Megan, let's watch this episode. And we watched this episode. And afterwards she's like, yeah, it was really good. He had a lot of good stuff to say. You kept cutting him off though. Like, you should have just let him talk. And I just remember it hurt so bad to hear that. But then when I went back and watched it, I was like, holy cow, she's right. I didn't see it, but it's like, I'm cutting this guy off all the time, And so now I just have to, again, so blessed to have her in my life because, she will just, she will build me up, and she is my biggest cheerleader. But at the same time, it's just like, if she sees something that shouldn't be, she'll let me know. And that helps me become such a better person. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I was watching one of my episodes yesterday, and I did the same thing, and I'm very aware of that. I've done that in the past. I did it with this one dude, Tanner Williams. And I was like, bro, you just like cut off Tanner like 5 times, dude. Chill.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyways. All right. Let me transition really quick. You're one of the things you said in the beginning was you're motivated by getting debt free. What does that mean to you?
I said that at the beginning.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Right. I don't know. That
was a hard transition.
Yeah. Well, I mean, getting debt free is definitely the thing that we want to do. But I really think we're coming up on a part now where we really are. I'm really starting to look into like, how do I create passive income? Which is totally going into what you're doing, but just being a door-to-door con, going to a lot of the real estate seminars and, different ways that you can create passive wealth, I think is really important because, I mean, I guess for me, the biggest thing is that the biggest gift that we have to offer anything or anybody is just our time. Like our time is so unbelievably valuable. And that's not just me or not just you, just, because we're doing well, but I mean, everybody, like, your time is your gift of yourself. Right. And so, most people are strapped down 40 hours a week with their work. So if you can start to open those up, right. Open up those hours. If you can start figuring out like, how do I create passive income so that I can do more things that don't require, me paying the bills. Now you can become a total gift to others. Right. Like, I mean, just you doing this podcast, the amount of time that you spend doing this, this podcast really out there trying to help other people, trying to inspire other people to be the best version of themselves. And so getting out of debt is really, I mean, it's the equivalent of just creating more time for yourself or for your family or for your community.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's transitioning into the money talk. So it's one of the conversations I like to have is James, what is your end goal? Which I'll ask you here in a second, but You said you're motivated by getting debt free, obviously to get that leads and then into freedom so that you can be there more for your kids, for your wife, for your family, for your church, for your community, which I can tell that is what motivates you, which we are definitely in alignment there. I don't need to work anymore. So people ask me like, well, why do you work? And currently, as we're recording this, I've got $27,600 a month in passive income. And, you would think like, well, Mikey, why aren't you done? And the reason why I'm not done and why I'm going to get to $100,000 a month in passive income is because I've seen that there's a major need in certain areas of the world and in my community. And that takes money a lot of time to be able to do that. So sure, I've got all my time back. I can, but I don't want to have to rely on organizations, nonprofit organizations, NGOs, to say, hey, can you, and don't get me wrong, can I go sell those organizations on giving us money? Absolutely. But I want to go in, prove concept that things that I guess you could say God-given or the my way will and would work. And to do that, we need ongoing revenue and cash flow to be able to actually give back to these causes, churches, and charities.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
being motivated by being debt free is awesome.
Yeah. I was just watching one of your reels and you were talking about like how we need to be giving 10% of our income to like, a church or an organization or something like that. I thought that was really interesting. I heard this thing probably maybe a month ago, but apparently back in like the early church, like the first couple of centuries, was really like 10% was like the minimum threshold. Like if you're not making a lot of money, you give 10%. But if you have more money, like give more money, give more than 10, give 20%, give 30, 40%. I mean, the church really is dependent upon us. And this is something that I'm really starting to grow this in my own mind of just like, look, if you're making a lot of money, give a lot of money to the church, I mean, gosh, I had this probably one of my biggest jobs that I've ever had. 2021 was a horrible year for myself, for my wife. I mean, we were living with my mom for 3 months because we had mold in our house and she got mold sick and it was awful. But I was completely unmotivated. I had my worst year in sales. I could barely go out there and pretend to be excited about knocking doors and selling roofs. And I remember we had a hailstorm that hit and the last thing I wanted to do was go do that. But I just remember there's this little voices inside of me that just said, go just be faithful in the small things and just do it. Doesn't matter if you want to do it. Do it.
16:11.
That's right, man.
16:10.
And I remember hearing that. And I remember I had an hour and a half drive down to where I was going to go. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to hit commercial stuff. Just going to hit, the big stuff. But I remember saying like, God, like, it was like dire straits financially for us. And I just remember telling God, I'm just like, look, any job that I get down here, I'm going to give the church 10%. Hands down, I'm going to do it. And the first door that I knocked was a Baptist church. Talked with them for 3 hours, inspected their roof, signed them, and then got them approved. And the job turned into almost $600,000. And it was the biggest job the company had ever seen, biggest job I'd ever seen. And I almost didn't do it because I was feeling sorry for myself and I didn't want to go do the small thing and go down somewhere where I was probably going to get totally rejected and not to get the job. But again, it just comes down to doing the right thing, and being faithful, especially in the small things, and doing the right thing when you don't want to do it. It's so hard. It's so hard, but it's so important to do that. We can't live, Jocko talks a lot about this. We can't live by motivation. We have to live by discipline. Motivation is going to die, and I would say the same thing goes even like for our faith or for our prayer life. Don't just pray when you're motivated and inspired. Pray every day because it's good for you, because you're disciplined, because even if you don't feel it, God loves you and you owe him your first fruits. Both financially, but also your time. He wants you.
I agree. I love that. Let me ask you one of those controversial questions.
Love it.
Let me look it up first.
Go. Controversy.
So one of the big issues that I have to overcome a lot. I'm actually I'm going to write an ebook or a book on this or something like that. Either way, I'm going to come out with this, and it's going to be very controversial, but it's one of the main reasons. It's what, dude, I just keep coming back to it. It's like one of those, I learned this from, I forget what pastor it was. It could have been Pastor Tony Angelo, or it could have been Matt Chandler. And it was like, if this is like a thought that keeps happening and it's like a problem in the church, that's God saying, I want you to solve that problem. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So this kept coming up, and it's one of the reasons why I've transitioned and been not Mikey, the sales guy, the sales guru. I'm the guy that helps people learn about money, how to master money. Yep. And it's anyways. Okay. So let's see if this is it right here. 1 Timothy 6:10. Does that ring a bell?
No.
Oh, it will ring a bell here shortly.
It probably will. Once I hear it, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I know that verse.
You ready? Oh, you'll know this verse.
Ready?
All right. 1 Timothy 6:10. This is the most controversial money verse out there. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some covet after, they have erred. They have left the faith, or are leaving, swerved from the faith, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Tell me what this means to you in your life growing up. What does this mean? Because let me be very clear here. The love of money is the root of all evil, which for a lot of Christians that I notice, it's one of the reasons why they do not go out and get after it.
Yep.
Because of money.
Let's go.
And it's a very taboo topic.
I know, but it's huge, and it's big in your community. It's big in my community. It's something that a lot of us talk about. Just like, don't make a lot of money because it's evil. And what it's funny is that he's saying that the love of money is the root of all evil. Not money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So if you're out there, I love money, and it's like, okay, if you love money, money controls you. That is very evil. And people do, I mean, the amount of evil that you can do with a lot of money. I just look at politicians, easy, done. There you go. That's what evil looks like when you have a lot of money. But money in and of itself, it's so important. I just took a pilgrimage up in Quebec in Canada. And we visited some of like these really old cathedrals, and it was super powerful. But you're going in there, and it's like, dude, these cathedrals must have cost, like, if you built one today, $200 to $300 million. The amount of artwork that's in there, these. It's just the delicate, most intricate details. Throughout this massive, 17,000 square foot space, and, the ceilings are 4 stories tall and whatever, like, guess what? That took a lot of money. And there were probably a lot of rich people and a lot of multimillionaires that gave to that project. Like, one of the things that I would love to do personally before I die is I want to build a church. I want to build a house for God. And I know that building a, really expensive church, a really nice looking church is what it's going to be, 30, 40, 50, $60 million. And I don't know if that's actually something that I'm going to be able to do, or I'm going to do. Sure. I don't know that, but I want to, because I go in there and I'm inspired. These places of prayer where it's just like, you're looking at these gorgeous paintings and these gorgeous, crucifixes, and it's just like, I'm so inspired, towards God and towards prayer. But that took so much money. And so, back to what I was saying earlier, like when they're in the early church, when they were, the idea of tithing was like, tithe 10% if you don't have any money. And if you have a lot of money, 10% is the minimum threshold, tithe more, and you go through all out Europe, and these, that had to have been, the MO for a lot of Christians, because these churches are just so beautiful. And there's so many of them on every other street corner in Rome. It's just like, beautiful church after beautiful church after beautiful church. So I think you're tackling an incredibly important topic. But I think at the same time, the people that need to hear this message need to hear it from somebody who makes a ton of money and is just really humble about it. Like, I know one guy, he's a mentor of mine, and he owns multiple businesses, and he's got, some acres, and, he's just got, he has some nice stuff, but for the longest time he was driving around in, this 1995, Dodge Durango or something like that. It had dirt all over it. Like, you look at him and you're just like, he's just sort of, he doesn't look like he makes money. He doesn't wear the $50,000-$60,000 watches. And I aspire to be that kind of a guy. I don't want to just wear my money on my sleeve. I want to actually do really good things with it, And so I feel like for a lot of these, these Christians that go out there, be like, oh, money's evil or whatever. It's just like, well, they've seen what we've all seen, which is money corrupting, good people. They were good people, and then they started making money, and then it just becomes who they are because it brought so much power with it. And so I think there's a huge call for men to make a lot of money and then not be controlled by it. Do really good things with it. Don't let it get to your head. Right. I think that's one of the biggest things that the, Christian community needs to hear today is make a lot of money and then do a lot of good things with it. And don't let it get to your head. It's a gift, right? Like, do something good with it. And again, get rid of the narcissism inside of yourself. It's not about you. Never was.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I looked it up here. It's like the crave or desire for money.
Yeah.
I was always told one of the ways that I live my life is I don't chase money, I chase impact. And that sounds very like, oh, that's really nice, buddy. But it's really funny. I'm actually going to deviate really quick. When I was telling people that I was going to start a business and go, knock on doors and solve, the global energy crisis and local energy crises that we have, they're like, yeah, man, go do that. Good for you. And then when I would tell people I wanted to be a billionaire, they're like, arrogant, prideful prick.
Yeah. Because
when they hear, and I was talking to a lady on a plane 2 days ago, and I flew home from San Diego, and her, the United States idea, most people's idea of billionaires is that they're arrogant, prideful pricks. That, if they were just to give away 10% of their, 20% of their, or half of their, money, we'd all have a couple $100,000 each, or whatever it is, right? It's like, yeah. That's you're missing the point here. Like, your identity is in so that you can have money so that you can go buy things, mm-hmm. when their identity or their motive is to take the money to make things better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, but it's just an interesting thing.
It does. So the thing that comes to my mind is, I think if you are some rep and or you're looking to get in a door knocking industry and you happen upon this podcast, just only listen to these top door knockers. If you want to look for a really good company, look at their bonuses. I think if you go and you're looking at their bonuses and it's big shiny gold, cars, watches, trips, whatever. It's just that could be cool. It could also be very dangerous because somebody who's never made money before is now all of a sudden, has, this really big stuff, and it can really promote a lifestyle of just I want really big, nice stuff, and, a lot of times what's happened, this has been happening for a while, is where, companies will try to motivate you to have a high lifestyle to keep you poor. Right. So what they'll basically say, get this nice thing and get that nice thing and get this job and work the extra hours so you can get the really nice $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 truck. And then now you have that, and that's awesome. You can come to the office and talk about it. And you're just raising your overhead, and you're keeping that person poor, and that person has to continue slaving away, for the person who's actually really making the money and keeping it and doing good things with it. The beautiful thing about my company is, we had a bonus structure, and, they're just like, hey, we want to give you a bonus. We want to say, thanks for all the hard work. What do you want? And I'm like, minivan, or at least a partial payment towards a minivan, we got 2 kids. We hope to have more. need a nice truck. I'm driving a 2011 Toyota Tundra that's, been in a couple wrecks, and I'm like, well, it still operates and I still get, I can still pass inspection here in the state of Virginia. Like, it runs, I don't need a new truck, and it's paid off. So I'm like, everybody thinks get the nice shiny truck. So when you pull up to the door, everybody's just like, oh, this person's really successful. It's complete and total utter bullshit. I have, a truck that's been in a couple accidents, I didn't get it fixed. I don't really take it for the car wash or anything either. And I closed 3.1 last year, right? Because I sell myself. It's about, I sell myself, and my truck, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, looking for a company that's really going to encourage you towards the life that you actually want to live, instead of trying to instill in you their values.
Yeah, I think that's a major problem. I talk against that all day long as well. When it comes to, I'm all for it. So here's the thing. I'm not the don't go buy nice things guy. I care if those things have you.
Yeah.
I'm all for you driving your, Maserati, Tesla, Porsche. What I'm like, cool, go ahead, man. Sweet. Sounds good. But like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? If you're doing that so that you can get the cab driver number 3, the waiter out at the Denny's and whatever to like you more, it's like, you have an internal problem. Yeah. This is a problem. Yeah. You have a heart issue and a mind issue and a soul issue. We should figure out your value before we go and start buying other things. Don't get me wrong. I love my GTO. I love my Tesla. Sure. Like, dude, those cars were outstanding. I don't even have a car right now. I sold all my cars. They're gone. I sold them during the pandemic. And, I'm overly grateful for the place that we live in. Like, we're in this super nice high rise. Like, I'm extremely, extremely grateful for it, because I know, because I remember where I started and why I started.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you, I reflect on that. I don't care if you have things. Let me repeat that. I care if things have you. It's a very important. It's like crucial that I'm in the process of building a $3 million sail yacht, not because I want this $3 million sail yacht. It's because the things that I'm going to do with this sail yacht, the experiences, the memories, the things that I'm going to be doing with that. The cool thing about that is that I actually won't pay for it. My passive income will pay for it. But anyways, yeah, I'm not the, there's only certain cases, very small cases. And this is like so rare that it's basically never that I will ever tell somebody, hey, you need to go buy a car, because that's the only thing that's going to get you motivated right now.
Yeah.
It's so rare that I'll tell people that. I'm like, very, very, very rarely. I'm in the year of 2023 is for, in the next really 7 years, for anybody that's listening to this, write this down, is wealth preservation, not liability accumulation. So when you're buying these $100,000 cars or $50,000 cars for the tax write-off, and your CPA is telling you to do that, they're probably an idiot and probably committing tax fraud, like the guys that just are about to be indicted for the $11 million COVID insurance fraud that happened in Utah not that long ago. Like, you should fire these people. You should not be looking at liability accumulation. You should be looking at wealth preservation to buy your time back. It's so easy if you just went out there and learned and read a few books, Money Master the Game, Profit First, like a couple books, the book of Proverbs, the book of Wisdom, like learn on how to use, how to use money. How are billionaires? My investment strategy, my investment thesis is invest like a billionaire, not like a millionaire. Yeah. So it's like, dude, billionaires don't, sure, some of them have these really cool things, but like, there's a picture, and these, I don't really jam with these guys, but like, it's Michael Dell, Bill Gates, and I think Warren Buffett, and it's like, hundreds of billions of dollars in wealth, and there's no Gucci belt in sight. Again, I'm all for, like, my wife, she doesn't want the Louis Vuittons and whatever. My sister loves that stuff. Now my wife does, but at first she didn't. But it's really cool to see how, like, I'm showing her how to incentivize herself so that she can go and do that and she's raising her lifestyle when her passive income can pay for it, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. We wanted the Louis Vuittons and the Alexander McDavid shoes and all these things, right? Like, those things, and for us in door sales, the Rolex watches, right? The big dualies, right? These really nice trucks. Like, those things are supposed to be, are supposed to give us value, when in reality, it's not about what you have. It's about who you're becoming and who you are.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, like all of these things I feel like so many people get them with this idea of like, now people are going to take me seriously. Now I'm something. Now I can roll up with this watch. And people are like, why do you have this watch? How much you must make a lot of money. And it's just like, okay. Like
I've seen dudes with fake Rolex watches all day long. Yeah. It's like 70 or 80% of Louis Vuitton is like fake. You know that? You know that?
No. But
it's like an outrageous number. Like over 80% of Louis Vuitton products out there are fake.
That's so funny. Yeah.
And so my wife, we play a fun game. I go, all right, babe, 1 or 2, so that we don't go real or fake. I go 1 or 2. She goes, oh, that's 2 for sure. 2 is fake.
Oh my gosh. It's like, and people still buy them for, full price because they're after it for the wrong reason. Yeah. Ugh. I don't know. But it's also hard. Like I think about getting the nice truck every single day and I'm just like, don't need it yet. Don't need it.
Don't do it. James, don't do it until your passive income can pay for it.
There you go. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
It's like it's one of my 10 commandments of money. Don't raise your lifestyle until your passive income can pay for it.
That's really good.
That's what I teach all day long. So when my guys, my clients, my students come to me and they go, Mikey, I found this deal on a Tesla. Everyone has Teslas in my office. I need a Tesla. And I go, cool. Awesome. You said you wanted to invest into Airbnbs or real estate or oil and gas wells cool. How much money do we have in that?
Right.
How much money? Oh, no. Okay. So you know where I stand on that. So the answer is no. But if you, for whatever reason, feel obligated and want to go against your mentor's guidance, then go ahead, I guess.
Real quick, because I met you at Door to Door Con because you're sitting right in front of me, and you probably saw this too. But this is one thing that I can't come on this podcast and not mention this because it's such a big deal, and I see it everywhere with everybody. It's like so many men have this mark and this wound on their soul that doesn't get dealt with. Sam gave this very inspiring speech during his keynote where he talked about his dad was a really wealthy businessman in Park City, Utah, moved to California, did all these investments, lost it all in the housing crisis, didn't show it. Sam didn't know about it. First off, I want to say that is so admirable that he took the cross on himself, and didn't sit there and freak out in front of his kids. And then he built it all back again. And Sam said something. He said his dad is his hero. He's like, my dad is my hero. And then he asked the question to the audience. There's 2,700 people in this audience. And he said, how many of you can say that your dad is your hero? And only about 10% of the people raised their hands. That's the problem right there. Like that's the heart of the issue. All these guys that are looking for identity, all these guys that are out there trying to figure out like who the hell they are. Like the biggest problem is that their dads failed them. And this isn't a new issue, right? Like you look at the story of David, right? God's chosen one, was anointed by God, goes off, becomes like an extraordinary, war hero, becomes king, and then seriously screws up. He actually he gets complacent, which is the big thing. He got lazy. So the whole thing where he slept with a woman that wasn't his wife, and then she bore his son, and then he killed her wife. That all happened because he had been out on the battlefield and decided to stay back this one time and was just alone and had nothing to do. And then he saw the woman. It's like that's complacency, right? But yeah, to kind of go back. If we really want to be the best versions of ourselves, I really think that we need to reckon with our fathers and what our fathers didn't do for us. You had mentioned this earlier in the podcast, like our parents are, can really teach us very well what we don't want to be and what we don't want to do. But if 90% of people in an entire auditorium can't actually raise their hand and say, my dad was my hero, and I mean, I was one of those people. Like my dad is not my hero either. But I also think that that's a huge issue, that if we actually want to be men, of real, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Men of real influence. I really think that's the number one issue we have to deal with, man. Like, it's so big, and it hits us at our very identity, you know? Like when we're kids, I think our dads are naturally going to be our heroes. You know, like when we're 2, 3, 4 years old and we see our dad as little boys, like, dude, dad's bigger, he's stronger, you know, he can do all sorts of stuff, you know? I remember when I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 or whatever, I saw my dad and he took a gallon of milk by his pinky and he lifted it up above his head. And I looked at that and I was just like, oh my gosh, my dad is so strong. Right. And that was a very, very real moment for me, you know, that, and I wanted that strength. But bro, like we have to deal with that, you know. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on the issue, but that's like number one.
Yeah, I'm teaching men to be men, which is men that stay in their house and that raise their kids, and that forgive their wives, and not just try to provide financially for their family as if that's the answer. It's not. No, that's my, you know, and the funny thing is like all these world problems that we're dealing with, especially within our country, like at the end of the day, the answer is we have to do life with people. We have to do life with people. We can't just be like, oh yeah, like freaking problems, man. The drug problem, man. The border crisis problem, man. The energy crisis.
How about the you problem, bro? How about the me problem? Yeah. Let's fix that.
We have to do life with people. We need more people willing to put themselves aside and actually do life with people and not judge them, especially if they're not in the church, to judge not outside the church because they're not held to our standard, which is super important because, you know, we see all these people that are not Christian, not saved, right? And we're like, I can't believe they would do something like that. It's like, they're not held to our standard, homie. Like, why are you being judgmental now? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Seek to understand.
Yeah. Let me transition again. You've said quite a few times trust. And I kind of want to stay on this topic, but you've said the word trust a lot within companies. And then you said men don't struggle well. I think that's a really important part. Like if you're going to hit a golden door, you have to, if you're going to hit a golden door multiple years in a row, you have to know how to struggle well. Like one of my mentors, Ed Milet, he says, he's said it multiple times. It's all over the internet. And he talked about this all the time in our mastermind. And he says, you know, I know people that can win in business 1, 2, 3 years, even 4 years. But if you want to really win in business, you know, 10, 15, 20 years, like you have to struggle well. You have to. Like anybody can win 2, 3 years in a row. It's not hard to do business 2, 3 years in a row. So explain to me a little bit about either some of your failures, maybe in struggling well, where you see maybe even in your own industry, in your own office, where guys are not struggling well. Let's talk specifically door-to-door sales really quickly, and what things that you've done or that you struggle with and you're not struggling well with.
I don't know. I mean, I just look at complacency as being probably one of the biggest things that I struggle with. It's like, oh, James hit 3 million this year. It's like the thing that I struggle with most is laziness, man. You know, like the times that I'm just like, I could just take a quick nap. I could sleep in this morning. I could do this. I could do that. You know, I mean, all the time, man, all the time. But, yeah, I mean, I think just to, you know, to have a goal set, this is what I want to do. You know, this is the end goal, and to believe that you've already achieved it, you just got to put in the work, and, you know, to create a plan for yourself. You know, when my goal really was to hit 2 million in sales last year. And, I mean, really what happened is I just kind of broke that down. You know, I said, okay, I want to hit jobs that are, you know, roughly around this size. I know the kind of houses I need to go to and what that looks like. So I just started to go for that. I hit an average of, you know, 7 signs a month, you know, or it might've been a little bit more than that, but, you know, and then just scale that. But to just go out there when you don't want to go out there when it's cold. You know, I'm thinking like this time last year, man, I had a scooter and it was 25 degrees out and I was scooting around a neighborhood, you know, freezing my tail off, but being like, I really need to provide for my family and I want to hit a goal and I want to do great. And I want to get myself out of this rut that I've been put in. You know, just with the year prior. And just real quick, that year, I mean, I think is amazing because it totally led to this year. I had already worked at Roof Simple for 2 years, you know, bought the truck, we bought a house, did all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, now what? Like, I'm here. I have 6 months in savings. I've got money coming in. I don't really need to work. So I didn't. And I kind of kept things alive and kept things going when I needed to. But really kind of grew complacent and just totally took for granted what I'd been given. I wasn't going out there, you know, transitioning into something else or trying to pursue a side hustle or trying to get into something I didn't know or trying to stretch myself. I was just sort of there feeling sorry for myself. I don't know what I want to do. Let me go grab a beer with a buddy and talk with him about what can I do and all. And it's like, that was my life for a while. And then I remember and I'll talk about this only because, you know, it taught me a big lesson. You know, I had a big feeling that Trump was going to win 2020. Like I was looking at everything. I was looking at so much stuff and COVID had everybody looking at weird shit, man. Like, and I was like looking at this and I was like, okay, I'm going to put, you know, $5,000 on Trump. Didn't tell my wife, put $5,000 on Trump. And then 2020 happened and I lost it. And then after that, we found out that, you know, my wife was very sensitive to mold. She was having health issues. We found out that we had black mold in our house. She was pregnant. She's like, I can't, this is super unsafe for the baby. So we left, we went to my mom's for what we thought was going to turn into 2 weeks. It turned into 7. And the day we went back, we found out that our fridge had a water leak and we had to pull up our kitchen, went straight back to my mom's that night for another 5 or 6 weeks, came back to our house, had plastic up for another 5 or 6 months, trying to, you know, ripped up our kitchen again, because we didn't do it right the first time. I mean, in an entire year, I think with the whole thing, we probably spent like 70 or 80,000. I'm completely depressed. I am like scarily so. You know, I'm back in, you know, therapy just to, you know, deal with myself and just try to take control of myself. And so, you know, we eventually got the house back and the plastic came down and, you know, I mean, it was like $80,000 or $90,000 later, you know, and I just remember saying like, it was a teaching moment. God was like, you need to learn, you know, not to take your life for granted and not to take my gifts for granted. So I'm going to take it away for a little while and see how you do. Turns out I didn't do very well. Didn't do well at all. And I just remember feeling so bad, you know, that I just wasn't doing really much at all. Been given this great gift of this job, a lot of money, you know, I was already one of the top reps of this company before my golden door, you know, and then I just had, you know, this really year of learning and struggle. And, you know, my wife and I were on different pages about multiple different things and dealing with that. So when I came into Golden Door, man, it was just like, I am ready to struggle. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pick myself up out of this ditch, and with God's grace and my hard work and my blood, sweat, and tears, we're going to freaking do this. And I went and I said, all right, the goal's 2.15. Let's go. You know, in December, January is like, you know, it's 25 degrees. It's 5:30 at night. It's practically dark and I'm still inspecting a roof. You know, I'm getting flashlights. I'm figuring out, you know, how do I use dark mode on my camera to take pictures of the hail damage? Because I got to do this, submit it, and go on to the next. And it was like, it was go time. It was go mode. I had to do it. I had to be something better than what I was the year prior. I knew that I could do more. I've been given so many gifts. I need to use them. And then by September, I hit 2 million. And all of a sudden it was just like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, cause I wasn't thinking like, you know, oh, okay, like, let's just go and we'll figure it out. Maybe I can scale off in like July. And then, you know, one day I go slide into home base, right. For that thing. It was like, no, I'm going to make this the best year yet. Like the goal is great. The 2.15 is great, but I'm ready to just have the best year yet. And in September, I was like, shit, I got to pivot. And I'm like, I can hit 2.5, maybe 2.6. And then a month later, I was just like, you know what? F it. I'm going to go. Let's hit 3. And I hit 3.1, but I mean, it was really just that, when you had everything and then so much was taken away, you realize what you took for granted. Like you realize what you took for granted. Don't take it for granted, and that doesn't just go with just, the job that you had, but it's just like, bro, if you're in an argument with your wife, don't forget to give her a hug and tell her you love her before you go to sleep. Don't do that. Don't be that guy, because he might not wake up in the morning. Right? So don't take your life for granted. It's a lot better than you think.
Facts.
And I mean, I only learned that through hardship and suffering, and son of a bitch, if that worst year wasn't the best year for me. It was the best year for me, Mikey. I needed that. I needed that wake up call. I needed my Father in heaven to love me and allow that to happen, to teach me, like, look, I've got a lot planned for you, but you're taking it all for granted. I can't do anything with you. I can't do anything that I have planned for you because you're not doing anything with your life. You're just not. You're sitting on your couch, you're complaining about, oh, you make all this money, you don't know what to do with it, and you have everything you think you have, you need and whatever. And it's just like, bro, you got to wake up. So, yeah. It was the hardest year I think I'd ever gone through in my entire life, but it was also one of the best years for me because I learned so much about myself, and I never want to be that guy that's just sitting on his ass, taking his life for granted. And if you see me do that, if anybody else sees me do that, call me out. I welcome it.
I love that. Don't take things for granted. Yeah, I guess they say you don't appreciate something until it's taken from you. And I said, nope. I'm not going to let that happen. I don't live my life like I won't appreciate it until it happens. I'm going to appreciate it now.
Yeah.
So what are some non-negotiables in your life, in your business, life and business?
Just in life or in business life?
Both.
Sure.
Both.
Yeah. Non-negotiables. I'm not going to skip out on my family just to hang out with the bros just because. If there's specific goals in mind, then I'll definitely go out. I do a weekly Bible study, once a week. It's planned, it's there, hang out with the guys. I have time for that. But there's other times when I could just sit back and hang out with the boys or drink or do whatever and not be home for dinner. F that. I'm not doing that. My family is really important to me. So that's a non-negotiable. Yelling at my mom, just about anything. Or I don't know, pointing fingers, at anybody. I can't, because I mean, whatever dumb stuff other people could do, I could do it and probably do it dumber than you. I could probably, one up you on the dumbness. So I really want to keep myself in check on that. I would call that a non-negotiable. I think with work, don't screw over your clients just even if you can, even if you're in a place where, you might have, and there's always opportunities where you can make money, and they don't know about this or that or whatever. Like, be transparent with your clients. I would say that, that's a non-negotiable for me. And then something else that I've really been thinking of that I wouldn't say like, oh, this is a non-negotiable, even though it probably is just because of how I've been acting, but I haven't really thought about it this way. But never burn bridges. So something else my buddy Larry said at one point that he lives by this, and I love it. But he said, never burn bridges with anybody. Don't do it. And there are people I could burn bridges with pretty quickly, but it's like, it's not worth it. You don't know what the future holds. I would say that probably is a non-negotiable for me. It's just to never burn a bridge.
Thank you for sharing that. Any books you recommend? Or reading or have read in the last few years? Really
The 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Total game changer. Read it. And then read it again. I would say The 6 Working Geniuses by Pat Lencioni is one that I found really good. Other ones. You have to give me a second. You probably have to cut the dead space here, but
I won't cut the dead space. I don't believe it. It's all
there's
good.
gonna be guys gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, driving my truck! Like, please finish the damn podcast." Yeah. What other books? The Book of Ben Sirach, which is one of the books of the Bible, but it's basically a father's letter to his son, with just packed with good advice. It's like wisdom and Proverbs put together. It's so good. But it's a father just saying like, hey, you're, to his son, you're coming of age. So, here's a bunch of advice I have for you. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. So yeah, I would say those. And there's probably more that will come to mind, awesome, but I can't think of them right now.
You're good. Appreciate those. What is, we'll land the plane here because I want to respect your time. What is James's end goal? What is the next 5 to 7 years look like for you?
Man, I want to figure out how to use my story of 35 years of experience with different people and different stuff, to try to help people just be the best version of themselves. And to be able to weed out all of the garbage advice that they're seeing on their Instagram reels or their Facebook feed, or listening to the garbage millionaires, talk about like, how to live life, or there's a lot of good advice out there, but I've seen an equal amount of just like bad advice that I think could lead people down a really bad road, unless they're incredibly prudent about how they're receiving that kind of advice. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my transition. This year is kind of a big transition year. I'm in a place right now where it's just like, I did really well last year. And I really want to dig a lot deeper into myself and be like, what else could I offer? Even outside of door knocking. I'll still be knocking doors for sure. Still be bringing in the money and all that. But I'm looking to dig a lot deeper. So yeah.
Good. I love that. Well, brother, it's been a pleasure. I appreciate your time.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Kind of a different one today. I really wanted to lean into that. I could tell, I could feel your aura, your vibe, your energy, your spirit, right? I could feel it, and I wanted to lean into what we went over. So, last thing, I forgot. Tell me about this referral thing.
Oh, why 40% of my people are referrals? Oh yeah, that's a cool one. So, so I really desire to take care of the clients that I have. So one of the things that I preach is, a lot of people are just like, I'm going to get like all of these jobs every single month. I'm going to get so much work and it's going to be awesome. And I'm one of those people that's just like, I have a huge pipeline right now. And I'm actually like specifically pumping the brakes on that because I have a lot of people I got to take care of. And I want to make sure that they get taken care of first before I go off and get new jobs. Because the last thing I want is for one of my clients to feel like they're not being listened to or not being heard. And it's not like that doesn't happen, right? But it is something that I'm actively trying to fight too. It's like, I want to make sure that they have good experiences with me. So, when I go up to a door, I know that there's other roofing contractors that are going to come into a neighborhood during a storm and knock a door and do the insurance check and whatever, and then run. And so I'm a roofing contractor too, but I mean, I've specifically chosen to stay local because I just, I've lived in this community for a long time and I want to help the people here. And just take care of them. So one story that I have for that was there was this one woman. I'd already done 2 of her neighbors' roofs. This is one of the neighborhoods that I was working in. I knock on her door. I'm like, hey, my name's James, Roof Simple, did your neighbor's roofs, would love to check to see if you have damage on yours, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, actually, probably not. Give me a business card and I'll think about it. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's totally fine. Like, I'm not going to pressure you. I don't believe in pressure selling at all. I think it can be a lot more effective when you learn to let go and give people time to trust you. And then she called me, a few days later, said, okay, if you want to, come over and check it out. And I checked it out. I'm like, yeah, there's damage. We could do it. And she's like, my husband died last year and he used to take care of all this stuff. So I don't know what's going on or what to do, but these people said that they had a really good experience with you and they worked really well with you. So I'm kind of just going to give you the reins. And I felt so honored by that. It's just like, wow, like, oh my gosh, like your husband, like my dad died when I was, in my early 20s and my mom was in that kind of position. Like I can imagine, like that's hard. It's really, really tough, especially when your husband takes care with all the contractors and all, all the other kind of stuff. It's just like, that's a world you don't know. So it's got to be scary going into that. And I just really made it a point to take really good care of her, got her roof approved, got it all put on. She's given me 5 referrals, bro. She's talking to all of her friends about me. She's like, you got to go over you got to see James. Right. And it's like, I took my time with that. I made sure that their issues were heard. That any concerns they had were kind of out on the table. We talked about it. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm going to go get 15, 20 jobs a month. I mean, I have before, but I feel a lot better about taking care of the few clients that I have, making sure that they have a really good experience with me, that if they have any questions like, hey, look, until this job, even after the job is closed out, call or text me anytime. My phone's on, right? Just do it. And I'll get back to you. And they do, and they will call and they will text. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to get you the answer, and there's times when I'm like, look, I'm going to get you the answer. And then I'm going to follow up with you in a week just to make sure that you're happy with everything. So excellent customer service. Like if you can nail the customer service, and it's not just the rep too, like the back end and the production 100%, have to be on board with this too. Is again, this is like Roof Simple is totally this way, be super transparent, care about the people because they're people too, and you're really helping them out. I'm telling you, man, like if you live a life of virtue in your business where you're honest, right? You're not going to lie to them. You're not going to twist the truth. You're going to be honest with them. You're going to tell them the truth. You're going to be transparent. You're going to have integrity. You're going to do what you say you're going to do. It's like, dude, how many contractors aren't like that? Like those contractors are gold because there's so few of them, And so that just like now, like, I mean, you live that kind of a life. It's you start attracting people to you. People want to talk about it, be like, hey, go check out Mikey. Like this is the guy you want to deal with. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I built my referral base is just, I don't know. You make it less about you and more about your customer and their experience, take yourself more out of the equation, make sure that they're center focus because it's their home anyways. Yeah. And give them an experience that other contractors simply won't because of their short-sightedness in the short game that they're playing of just like, make an easy couple grand as soon as possible and, call it a day. So, right. Yeah. I would say that's sort of my whole shtick on the referrals.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I built a 52.6% referral business. Built a software based off of it too. So I'd love to give you access to it and see if that can help your business grow and help automate some of your things for you. So
I would love to keep in touch too. So I'd love to talk more about the passive income streams that you have, that you're doing.
Well, continue to follow me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's all there, bro. I'm an open book, man. I teach everybody how to do it. So, but James, man, it's been a pleasure, dude. And I look forward to continuing our relationship. I know we get along very well, and we believe in the same thing. So it's really cool. Be able to call you friend now moving forward. So, any final words for the Golden Door Award winners, brother?
If you're going out there and you're really you want that Golden Door, I love it. I think that's great. But make sure that you're doing it the right way as well. Right? Don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat. Do the right thing and do it in the right way. And the reward will be greater than just the Golden Door reward. It'll be your own self-respect. Really. So that's it.
I love that. All right, James, where can we find you on the internet?
So I'm on Instagram, that.james.guy. You can follow me there. I am on Facebook. I have a TikTok account. I don't use it. I was like, I could played with it, but I'm not there. So, and then it will be having a podcast that comes out, and that will also be on Instagram, and I'll be able to link you to the YouTube page from there. But yeah, I mean, my main hub right now is my Instagram account, so you can reach me there.
Cool. James Schlosser.
Thanks, Mikey. Appreciate it, man.
Brother.
Thank you.
All right, brother. God bless you, man.